All right, hey guys. Hope everyone is doing well. This is Rudy, and I wanted to do a book report tonight, and I'm going to wear my YouTube sunglasses since that seems to be the proper way to make a YouTube video. But in any event, I want to do a book report on the book that has influenced my life the most, with the exception of the Holy Bible. And it's Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. I read it when I was in my late 30s, early 40s. I don't remember the exact time, but I was around 40 years old. And it's such an important book that it's worth me doing an entire video on and try to recommend it for everyone that wants to understand what's going on in the world. A lot of people will judge the book by what people say about it, or they'll judge, they know that Ayn Rand has an institute, Ayn Rand Institute, and they'll listen to videos of objectivists, and they'll make their decisions and judgments about Ayn Rand based upon what people say about her, but they never actually read the work. And one of the things I'm reminded of is I remember a bumper sticker that says, "Jesus is great, I just have a problem with his fan club." So just like we don't judge Jesus by looking at Christians, and we don't make decisions about what Jesus had to say by looking at what Christians say about him, we actually read what he had to say. I'm recommending that we read what Ayn Rand had to say. And many of you have already got this preconceived notion that Ayn Rand is evil and that she is the polar opposite of the Bible because she professed selfishness and individualism. And I don't see any conflicts with Atlas Shrugged and the principles put forth in the book and the Bible. But having said that, I think you should read the book yourself, and I wanted to share what a huge impact that Atlas Shrugged had in my life, and how it'll open my eyes to things that I saw happening in society. It opened my eyes to things that I saw happening in my workplace, in my career, why certain things happened the way that they did, and how the moochers, the looters, the bootlickers, the whiners, and the complainers completely take advantage of the producers and achievers, and the producers and achievers, don't even seem to do anything about it. But eventually there will come a point where, there's a chapter called Account Overdrawn, and that's what's going to happen, to our society. The producers and achievers will stop producing and achieving to the point where the moochers, looters, and the bootlickers are not going to have anything to take. One of the best claims about socialism is great until you run out of other people's money. And eventually you're going to get to a situation where there's not enough producers and achievers in the world to support all the moochers, looters, and the bootlickers. And that's kind of what the book Atlas Shrugged opened me up to. But another thing that it did for me is it showed me how important it is to develop my own personal philosophical foundation. And you need something that you're willing to live for, that you're willing to fight for, that you're willing to defend, that you're willing to argue, and even to die for if necessary. And we are in a war of ideas. Our society is going downhill, and it is a war of ideas. And if you don't know how to defend laissez-faire capitalism or capitalism, and if you don't know how to defend individualism, then you're going to be woefully unequipped to defend our way of life. And because communism does sound nice on paper, but it does teach man to hate his fellow man. And there's a story of the 20th Century Motor Company embedded within the book that makes very clear why communism is so evil, and how it actually ruins the spirit of man. It just turns men against each other, and it teaches men to hate God as well. But in any event, there should be no conflicts within your own philosophical foundation. So you should think very thoroughly so that you're not easily duped and easily bamboozled. It's not to say that you can't grow over time and incorporate new ideas into your philosophical foundation, but you want to have thought through them very thoroughly, and you do not want any conflicts. So the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So you want to think very carefully about how you're going to go about living this world. so that when you're approached with arguments from your enemies, or even arguments just from idiots, arguments from misguided people, that you can defend, your way of life and your philosophy about how to go about living life. But, there's another concept that I wanted to share, and it's called sanction of the victim. And, one of the definitions that I found on that is the willingness of the good to suffer at the hands of the evil for the sin of having virtues. And, there's so many examples of sanction of the victim. Basically, when a good person just says, I'll just take on whatever burden you put on me, and I'm not going to whine about it, I'm not going to complain about it, and I'll just continue to produce and achieve, even though I'm being stolen from, is an example of sanction of the victim. You may remember the story of the turtle and the scorpion, where the scorpion asked the turtle if he can ride on the back of the turtle. Right, if the scorpion says, hey, can I ride on your back across the river? And the turtle says, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I really don't like it because you're a scorpion and you got to promise not to sting me. And the scorpion says, oh, I won't sting you, don't worry about it. Well, the turtle gets on the other side, and the first thing the scorpion does is sting the heck out of him. And, you say, well, who's the biggest blame in that? Well, the turtle is the one who shares the biggest blame, because he knows that he was giving a scorpion a ride. Who the heck's going to give a scorpion a ride across the river, right? So if you're going to be a person of virtue, if you're going to be a person of morality, a person of ethics, you don't give in to people that are known to be evil, that are known to be, they have no virtue. The Bible tells us that a good person cannot be yoked, a person of belief cannot be yoked with a person of unbelief. It's simply, you don't put yourself through that on purpose, and you certainly don't become a victim to it on purpose. So if you're going to be a person who lives righteously, don't allow yourself to be victimized when it's when you haven't done anything that you should be victimized for. And another example is white guilt. There's a lot of people that carry around white guilt, and that's a word that's used quite a bit in YouTube, and there's a lot of debates, and it's a controversial phrase, but it's the truth. I don't have any white guilt. I haven't done anything to people of color. I haven't taken their jobs. I didn't own any slaves. My dad didn't own any slaves. Even if my dad did own any slaves, that would be his sin, not mine. So it's very important that you don't stand in line for things that you're not guilty for, right? I will accept all the things that I am guilty for, but I damn sure am not going to take blame for things that I'm not guilty for. So sanction of the victim is an incredibly important lesson that this book awoken me to, and I can't stress enough how just eye-opening this book is, because it really does give you an insight into how corporations are run, how relationships are built, how societies are formed, and it wakes your eyes up to how people with you would think they just have no skills whatsoever and no contributions to society, and yet they rise up the food chain and become the leaders of society. They become leaders of a corporation, and the only thing they know how to do is manipulate people and take advantage of the producers and achievers. And this book will open your eyes to so many things and answer a lot of questions to how society is ran, and give you an idea of the evil road that we're on. And how they resolved the problem in the book is that they said all the producers and achievers are going to withdraw from society, they're going to let it fall in on itself, and then they're going to rebuild it from scratch, based upon their own sense of principles and morals. Some of the main characters in the book is John Galt. You may have heard the phrase, who is John Galt? There's like all these people at the tea parties, and they hold up Atlas Shrugged signs, and that's because the book is so powerful. If you get a chance, go read the John Galt speech. It's a very long speech. It's another part that's embedded in the book. It's a wonderful speech. Dagny Taggart is another main character. She's producing and achieving, and she's doing it for the good of society. But eventually, society puts such a large burden upon her that she cannot do it anymore, and she's forced to let a business fail that was given to her by her father, and it's just a hugely complicated story with a lot of things intermixed into it. There's love stories, there's philosophical stories, there's ethics, there's just so many things embedded into that book. Another character is James Taggart, who's Dagny Taggart's brother, or maybe Jim Taggart. And, he's the CEO of a railroad, but he can't do anything, right? He just manipulates people and knows how to pull the strings at Washington to get rules and regulations put in his benefit, but there's no real producing and achieving going on. And that's so similar to what's going on with the CEOs of our companies today. It also tells you in a very clear fashion why collectivism is bad and why individualism and standing up for your ethics and fighting for your rights as an individual is so important.